Hey out there YouTubers, this is Joey with Salty Flag TV. I'm going to do a follow-up on the 2015 Suzuki DF250 engine overheated idle. I wanted to give you a little bit of basic information. If you've seen the other videos, then you kind of know where I'm at. If you haven't seen them, just here's some basic information. I've got a 2015 DF250 mounted on the back of a 2015 Sea Chaser, which is made by Carolina Skiff. 24-foot HFC is the model, and that particular boat has a 16-degree dead rise, and the transom on that is pretty high in the back. The motor sits up kind of high and doesn't sit down in the water, very far. So that engine is pumping a good bit of distance to get the water to the top. So in the previous video, there were multiple things going on at the same time. I had water pump had gotten weak, had a thermostats that were corroded. I changed all that out. And then I still had an overheated idle problem. I changed the water regulator that's on that engine. Water control valve is what it's called. Water pressure control valve is what it's called. And thought I really had it fixed. I had a thermostat that just put in and one of the spring cracked. So I was told by the dealer, because I'd worked on this thing for quite some time, and I finally just took it to the dealer, that that was allowing water to get by and it wasn't building up enough pressure, and they changed that and that seemed to fix it. So fast forward a year, out using the boat, it's idling, temp sensor goes off, look at the engine temperature, it's 147 degrees, so I'm like, okay, we're right back to where we were. So I was like, okay, well, maybe just my water pump is a year old now, and this engine is so finicky, it needs a brand new, once it gets a little bit old, you need a new pump in there. So I did my 300-hour maintenance this past weekend, changed everything out, new water pump, inspected everything, took thermostats out, didn't run any corrosion, took them in and tested them in a pot of water to make sure they opened up fully, and everything checked out perfect. Put it all back together, put it in a barrel of water. Now, like I generally do, I do it several times a year, but certainly at the annual, when I put everything in there, I'll run it in a barrel of water, make sure everything's good before I take it out on the next run, and I'll put some simple green in there to kind of flush the engine out. Kind of helps clean out any of the salt deposits and just other corrosion that kind of can get in the engine. I pretty much run mine salt. So I decided to get the laser thermometer out, and 5 minutes, that manifold temperature on the starboard side is up to 185 degrees. I'm like, what is going on here? I've got this, it's not going into alarm, but it won't be long that it will. So just kind of thinking about before, when all of this first started a couple years ago, a year and a half ago, maybe almost 2 years ago now, one of the things that I read was that the Suzuki recommended RPMs was 650 to 700. So I had a thought back then that maybe I'm just not getting enough water pumped because my engine's so tall and sits high, kind of high out of the water. And there was a way that you could adjust it with the computer, and I just could not get that to work. It did not want to go to 700 no matter what I did, and so I didn't make any other adjustments and ended up doing all these other things. So fast forward to Saturday. I saw it going up to 185. I just reached up and grabbed the butterfly and opened it up just to rev it up for a second. Instantly comes down. As soon as the engine revs up at all, temperature comes down. So I had a thought, and the idle adjustment screws for the butterflies are right there on the back of the engine. I did a quarter turn on each one, which is nothing, and changed it from 650 to 700 RPMs, and then monitored the temperature of that engine on all areas, specifically the manifold temp sensors. It never got above 130 degrees again. So that extra 50 RPMs a minute was the key to my particular engine staying cool in all the areas, and it's just a volume issue. The impeller that came out had a little bit of memory, but it was nothing wrong with it, honestly. I mean, I could have continued to run that thing. Had no dry rotting, no cracking, no nothing. It was perfect, except for a little bit of memory. So, and when I'm running the boat, it runs at around 154 degrees, so it's well below, anywhere close to running hot. So it's only at idle, and it had to do with volume. So if you have a Suzuki and you're having problems with overheated idle, once you've done all your maintenance, check the RPMs. just make a simple idle adjustment from 650 to 700 if that's where yours is idling at. I won't recommend going above what the manufacturer recommends at 700, because if it's above that and you're having problems, you might have something else going on. But just try bumping it from 650 to 700. It seems to have fixed my issue. I got some real world trials coming up soon, but you know, in the barrel it just never even came close to getting hot. And it's going to be further down in the water when it's sitting in the water than it would be in the barrel. So I think it's even going to be better. So just following up, hope you find this video helpful. I don't really do much with my channel other than try to provide some interesting and helpful info out there for you. If you have any questions, send me a comment. I'll be glad to try to answer it, tell you what I've done with mine. But I hope this helps someone. Thanks a lot.